Hey folks, welcome back. Here's the other game that I'm a little late on, but better late than never. I mentioned in the Buffalo Sabres lost review that if we didn't win the game against Pittsburgh, I would be concerned, even if it was against Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh is coming into this pretty much dead in terms of momentum, and the Oilers need momentum, and the Oilers got momentum in a pretty handy win. Um, so absolutely needed by the Oilers, and the Penguins needed a win too, but they weren't in the mood for fighting. It appears there was a few guys who did. Brian Rust was very noticeable. Crosby always is, but I think anger did get to him by the third period. Both goalies had an excellent game. We'll get to that. But like I said, coming into the game, even if we were playing a team who was playing very well, I would say the Oilers need to win because they've been pretty 500. They need to have a clear identity that they are still going to be a playoff team by the time the playoffs come. It doesn't matter who you're playing, you should look like a playoff team. And they looked like a playoff team against Buffalo, but they allowed Buffalo to look like a playoff team too. It's not just about looking like a playoff team, it's making sure the other team doesn't. They didn't. They let a team that was not doing so good, who has been doing good lately, beat them. Um, they didn't do it this time. And part of it is because Pittsburgh is really down, but at least Edmonton took advantage of that. So as much as you can say, well, it doesn't count because Pittsburgh's been losing a ton, well, you would say something if Edmonton lost, but they didn't. They won, and Edmonton won. And as I said, I've repeated that now. And hopefully they take the momentum on Wednesday's game. Edmonton has had quite a busy schedule lately, so maybe they can use that as a small sense of comfort. It's not an excuse, but to say, hey, it's okay. We have had a pretty busy schedule. We can take this break and get back at it. Anyways, first period. I'm taking a crap and I see on notification on my phone Connor McDavid scores. It's 1 minute 8 seconds into the game. I do see the rest of the goals. Don't worry. But McDavid, he scores 24th of the year. He's assisted by nobody on the Oilers, but it was a tape-to-tape pass from Chris Letang. Um, there's a lot of Chris Letang haters. I'm a Chris Letang defender, but there's no defending Chris Letang on that game, and there was no defending McDavid because it was already in Pittsburgh's zone. David kind of just had a clear path and all the time he needed to take a shot on poor Tristan Jarry. Not much Jarry could do, and that's McDavid's 24th of the year. Anyways, a minute and 30 seconds later, Pittsburgh gets a power play. Darnell Nurse is called for interference. I haven't seen a Darnell Nurse penalty in a while, but Picard and the penalty kill stand tall, which is weirdly easy to do against Pittsburgh power play. That has been a point of discussion, how you got so many great players who aren't just good offensively 5-on-5, but are great on power play, and yet it's just not going together. I'll talk about on the deadline video, which is coming. I keep alluding to, but I have a slideshow ready for the Atlantic Division. I'll probably do that tomorrow because it's kind of late tonight. Anyways, back to the game, the actual game at hand. So Edmonton kills that off, as many teams do against Pittsburgh, and then, as many teams do against Pittsburgh, scores. Not because of goaltending, it's just because if Pittsburgh's not scoring, somebody's going to score, and it's usually the other team. Unfortunately for Pittsburgh, I know I'm harping on them, but I hoped for good things for them this year. Um, Anyways, that goal is Ekholm. It's his fifth of the year. That's almost halfway into the first. It's an even strength goal, and he's assisted by Bouchard and Connor McDavid. Uh, so McDavid is inching closer to the lead, though McKinnon has had quite a good week, as well as Kucherov. But I mean, by their standards, quite good, which is amazing. Anyways, then Pittsburgh gets another power play. 5 minutes later, that's 13 minutes into the period, Nugent Hopkins is off for hooking. So if there's a chance that Pittsburgh is going to score against Edmonton, who, again, Edmonton's penalty kill has been better of late, but could still use all of the momentum it needs, this is it. And they decide to take a penalty themselves halfway through. Jeff Carter goes off for roughing, kind of nullifies the penalty, and both penalties are ultimately killed, and the period ends. Shots were even. Picard was the better goalie, saving all 13. Jarry had, it's hard to say he had a good period because he allowed 2 goals on 13 shots, but he tried, and he would end up having a pretty good game. Second period comes around. It's quite full of penalties, and the first guy to go off is Matthias Ekholm for tripping. That's almost 6 minutes in. And then during that power play, that's Pittsburgh power play, there is a too many men on the ice penalty by Pittsburgh. So once again, nullifying Pittsburgh's power play chances. Not that the Edmonton penalty kill really needed help in that regard, but it's just one thing leads to another for Pittsburgh's power play, it seems, and in a negative way. Then halfway through the period, 10 minutes 35 seconds in, Hyman goes off for double minor high sticking, but it doesn't result in a 4-minute power play for Pittsburgh because there's some rough stuff, and Ludwig, he gets an instigator penalty for fighting between Foegele and or not between himself and Foegele. Good bout. Both guys had some good shots. Ultimately, Ludwig prevails. He ended up on top of Foegele when they both went down, if that's how you want to see it. So Pittsburgh gets once again reduces their potential power play time from 4 minutes to 2. So this is a third straight power play where they kind of reduces the amount of time they get, but it doesn't really matter because Edmonton kills off the penalty. Right now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the instigator penalty. I don't think Ludwig should have got the instigator penalty. Even if I thought that the instigator penalty is a genuine call, I get why it was there maybe a while ago, but I don't think it's needed anymore. I don't think you'd see an increase of fighting if you got rid of it. Now it's just kind of a punishing, too much punishment. So I do think they should get rid of it. And even if it's still there, I don't think Ludwig really needed to. Well, no, you could have called it because he didn't really need to fight. It didn't feel like a play where he needed to fight. So maybe that's why the instigator penalty is there, because you don't want to fight every time somebody's hit with a high stick. It's not like Hyman slashed the guy to his face. It's just Hyman was not careful with his stick. Hit a Pittsburgh player up high and drew blood. But anyways, not that it would have changed anything. And so again, that penalty's killed. Edmonton gets a chance for themselves after Brian Rust runs into Calvin Pickard, causing goalie interference. Now this is important. Calvin Pickard had saved everything up until this point. He's down for a bit, but he does get up and play continues. But partway through the power play, Pickard is called off during concussion protocol. So if he had any chance for a shutout, this is gone. Skinner comes in and plays the last, I believe, 70 seconds. It wasn't 90 seconds. I was saying 90 seconds to my friends, but when I did the numbers, it wasn't even that. But Pickard does return in the third. I'll just mention for the second, shots are once again tied 12-12. But Edmonton starts to once again take control in the third period. Not by much, but in terms of shots, but by much in terms of pucks at the back of the net. And doesn't come till halfway through because Jari is making a game of it. He's keeping Pittsburgh in the game. Rust is trying his hardest. I noticed Rust was just battling. And maybe he didn't get the memo from Pittsburgh that they're not supposed to try anymore because he was on injured reserve. But it just felt like him and Jari are pretty much all that's trying. A few defensemen. I'll get to it at the end. Anyways, Darnell Nurse scores eventually. I was a little frustrated at first because Ekholm had a really nice chance. Actually, I'm mixing it up with a different goal because it's not the only Darnell Nurse goal, as you probably know. My bad. That Darnell Nurse goal is assisted by McDavid and Nuge. McDavid now has a 3-point game, and Nurse is on the board for the first time in a while. I should have mentioned that Ekholm, when he scored, that's his first goal since January. It didn't really feel like that. I feel like his goal-scoring ability is better than what we saw last year. Part of that is just because usage and different systems, but he doesn't feel like a guy who goes through 3 months without it. He's very capable of scoring quite a bit more, but it's because he's taken a very defensive role, even for a defenseman. Anyways, and that's the same for Nurse. Nurse could definitely score more, but he's become a very good defenseman this year. He always was. He was just inconsistent, but this year is having one of his best defensive years he's had since the COVID shortened season. Hopefully that doesn't bring up a banner, but whatever. You'll know what I mean by banner if it's there. If not, great. Anyways, Edmonton gets a power play because Crosby, who is still trying, he takes a pretty undisciplined penalty for hooking. He goes off, and the Oilers didn't score on that power play, but the unit that was out, the secondary unit, 4 seconds after it's killed, does score. It's Darnell Nurse's second. This is the other Darnell's goal. This is his 8th of the year, and he's assisted by Ekholm. Because I was a little mad because Ekholm missed a really great opportunity to score, and I needed it in fantasy. It was a really tight game. Both of my fantasy leagues, I ended up winning one and tying the other. Tying! I'm the best team in the league, and I tied the worst team in the league. It was a really rough week for my goalies. Not the point of the video, but felt like I had to say it. Anyways, good on Nurse, 2-goal game. Haven't seen that in I don't know how long, but he is capable of it. And again, assisted by Ekholm, who also has a multi-point game. And then I think everybody just kind of lost focus by that point. I completely forgot that Desharnais, when I was putting the notes down, I completely forgot that Desharnais took a penalty with 1 minute and 1 second left in the game because it was just kind of there. And that ends. If I didn't mention, Picard did come back in the third period. I'm pretty sure I mentioned. If not, that is an important note because we're going to talk about him. Edmonton outshot Pittsburgh 17-16 in that period, and the game ends 4-0. It doesn't feel like a high-shooting game because there was a lot of shots that came from outside the slot, but it was. Both teams eclipsed 40. The total shots were 42-41 in favor of Edmonton. Both goalies had a really good night. I'll get to that later. Hits, not a high-hitting game. Edmonton was out-hit for the second time, but Pittsburgh had 15, Edmonton had 4, and you can complain about only having 4 hits all you want, but they also had four goals, so whatever. Pittsburgh did win in the faceoff circle 57.1%, but again, doesn't really matter when you get shut out. Power play, Edmonton was 0-4, but perfect. Penalty kill, 5-for-5, so penalty kill numbers are getting quite a boost thanks to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's very good at boosting everybody's penalty killing numbers. Picard was a perfect 41-for-41. Skinner 0-for-0 in his 1 minute and 15 seconds of time. Jari 38-for-42. So let's talk about goalies really quick. Let's do Jari first. One of my issues, I like goals saved above expected. Both models for Money Puck or Evolving Hockey that I've looked at, I think it's a really great stat. I'm not arguing that. It's arguably the best stat we have right now, but it's not perfect. Jari did have a -1 something, according to one model. I forget which one it was. It was whichever one Puck Empire on Instagram uses, because that's where I saw it. Anyways, and I disagree with that because that suggests he had a bad game. But if you saved 38 out of 42, you had a great game. Okay, you faced 40 shots. No goalie should really be facing 40 shots. It does happen, so I shouldn't say that. A goalie should be expected to face 40 shots and be capable of facing 40 shots here and there. But at the same time, generally speaking, the defense should also be expected to not allow 40 shots to happen, no matter who you're playing, even if it is the Edmonton Oilers. So Jari had a good game, regardless of his advanced stats. 38-for-42 is good in my books as a goalie, and I think most people would agree. But the best game was Picard. Perfect 41-for-41, but no shutout. No shutout, because the way it is written is that you have to not allow a goal while playing the entire game. And maybe we should change that. We should maybe change it to say you saved every single shot that the team faced, and then Picard will get the shutout. That does hurt any goalie who happens to play the entire of the game and not face a shot. So I guess they wouldn't get a shot on that point, but I don't think that's a concern in the NHL. If that's happened, it happened well before any of us are alive, so maybe we should change that. Because usually I am a stickler for the rules, but at the same time, it's not like Picard missed a shot. It's not like Skinner had to come in and save just one shot. No, Picard still faced a lot of all the shots Pittsburgh had, which was a lot. It was 41. So Pittsburgh had Picard had an excellent game. Edmonton as a team is credited with the shutout, and Skinner and Picard are credited with a shared shutout, but shared shutouts are not recorded in the shutout category. So if you want, you could say, when you look at Picard's stats for the year, you can add one in your mind. But for people looking 20 years down the road, looking at Picard's stats, they won't see that. But at least Picard's goals against average gets a huge boost, as well as his save percentage, which is deserved. Again, neither goalie really needed to make super big, flashy 2-on-1, 2-on-0 saves. Defense was, I don't want to call it bad or good, because I can't say defense had a good game when they allowed 40 shots, but neither defense really allowed a lot in the slot, besides Letang passing it to McDavid early in the game while I was taking a crap, but whatever. You don't need to know that, but you do, and I've informed you twice. So both goalies had an excellent game. I think they were the stars of each team, first star. And let's talk about the stars. So obviously Picard was number one, 41 for 41. While we're on the topic of shared shutouts, this is the second time in Oilers history where there has been a shared shutout. Andy Mogan and Grant Fuhr had a shared shutout against the Quebec Nordiques, I believe in 1985. It was mid-80s. So this is the second time in franchise history. So yay! But at the same time, it's not like Skinner did much or anything. He just was there. There was a bit where Pittsburgh had a shorthanded chance, but it was defended, so they didn't get a shot off. And if they did, it missed the net. I didn't really bother to remember, because that kind of happened with the game. It was weird. It was usually when your team wins 4-0, you have fun watching it. Especially if you're a goalie like me, you have fun watching your goalie make 41 saves and save all of them. But it was just kind of there. Pittsburgh's just hard to watch right now. I have a friend who is a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, and his father saw the second goal and just said, "You're really torturing yourself this year." And yeah, I feel bad for them. But that will be I'll talk about Pittsburgh Penguins and my opinion on them and what they're up to in the Metropolitan trade deadline video that will be coming out this week, barring some cataclysmic event. Might happen. Anyways, Picard, 41-41. He's your first star of the game, no matter what. Second and third star was hard to pick because there's three guys who had a multi-point game. That's Ekholm, who had a goal and assist. Nurse had 2 goals, and McDavid had the game-winning goal and 2 assists. And I decided to do Ekholm second and McDavid third. The reason I did is my initial plan was to do McDavid second because he had 3 points, and then Nurse because 2 goals is better than 1 goal and 1 assist. But the reason I changed it is because I figured, well, I also want to give credit to whoever was best on the penalty kill, which is usually Nurse. But it was Ekholm. He was the best on the penalty kill, and he led the team in penalty kill time, 4 minutes and 15 seconds. And Oilers' penalty kill was perfect. Again, it's against Pittsburgh, but still, we're going to give credit to him because he still had a great penalty kill, as did the rest of the people on the penalty kill. CC was second in time. Usually Nurse is up there, but he actually didn't have a lot of penalty killing time this time around. So that kind of held Nurse off of the 3 stars. It feels weird to hold off a defenseman after they had 2 games and really good defense, but I felt like I had to have McDavid in there for a goal and 2 assists, and Ekholm still had a 2-point game and was perfect on the penalty kill, seemingly, and so was Nurse, but Ekholm did it for 4 minutes. Nurse, I don't think, hit 2 minutes, which is weird. So huge honorable mention to Nurse. He has had a really good season. He has been a $9 million defenseman this year. I'll talk about that more in a different video, but don't let anybody tell you he's not worth his contract this year. Was he worth his contract last year? No. The year before that? No. This year? Yes. Yes, he is. So we'll take it. Anyways, great game. Hopefully this captures momentum going into Edmonton's next game Wednesday night. Even though it's been a little boring for me to have to go 2 whole days without Oilers, it is good for the Oilers to get a break. They've had a busy schedule, lots of games, and not so many nights. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. This video has dragged on a bit more than I intended. Buffalo one was shorter than I thought it would be, and this video is a lot longer than I thought it would be. Whatever. Thank you so much for sticking around. Even if I'm just white noise, that's fine. I use a lot of YouTubers as white noise. Please leave a like. That helps a lot, as well as commenting, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and hopefully that helps you. I'm not just asking for a comment just because it helps me, but I am happy to hear your thoughts. I'm always happy to talk hockey. That's why I have this channel. I also, again, would really appreciate it if you subscribe. If you do, thank you so much. But if you don't, that's okay. I won't come after you yet. Maybe in a week or two, but you still have some chances. Anyways, that's it for tonight. I will see you when I see you.